The 7 Habits of a Buddhist Mind, by a lifelong researcher in Buddhist philosophy. In the course of my 4 decades dedicated to the exploration of Buddhist teachings, I have often been approached by individuals seeking a simple, accessible entry point into this vast and profound tradition. While the philosophical depths of the Dharma are boundless, the path to its realization is, at its heart, profoundly practical. It is a path of cultivation, of training, of transforming the very texture of our consciousness through consistent, moment-to-moment effort. The Buddha, in his wisdom, did not present a set of abstract beliefs to be adopted, but a way of living and seeing to be embodied. This embodiment is best understood not as a sudden, dramatic conversion, but as the gradual cultivation of wholesome habits. The modern concept of habits, as popularized in Western psychology, aligns beautifully with the Buddhist understanding of bhavana, or mental cultivation. A habit is a pattern of behavior or thought that, through repetition, becomes automatic, ingrained in the very fabric of our being. The uncultivated mind is already a creature of habit, driven by the ingrained patterns of distraction, craving, aversion, and ego clinging. The Buddhist path is a process of consciously replacing these unskillful, suffering-inducing habits with skillful, peace-inducing ones. After a lifetime of study and contemplation, I have distilled the essence of this transformative process into 7 core habits. These are not arbitrary selections, but fundamental pillars of the Buddhist path that find their roots in the Buddha's earliest teachings, such as the Noble Eightfold Path and the cultivation of the Brahma Viharas. To adopt these habits is to begin to sculpt the mind itself, transforming it from a source of turmoil into an unwavering sanctuary of peace, clarity, and compassion. This article will serve as an in-depth guide to these 7 foundational habits, exploring their philosophical underpinnings, their psychological benefits, and the practical means by which they can be woven into the fabric of our everyday lives. Habit 1. The habit of mindful presence, living in the now. The first and most foundational habit, the very bedrock upon which all others are built, is the practice of mindful presence. In Pali, this quality is known as sati, while often translated as mindfulness. Its meaning is more akin to remembering, or bearing in mind, the conscious remembering to return our awareness to the present moment. Again and again, the uncultivated mind is a time traveler. It is habitually lost in ruminations about the past, replaying old conversations, nursing old grievances, or caught in anxious projections about the future, planning, worrying, fantasizing. As the Buddha taught, this mental time travel is a primary source of our suffering. We suffer from regret and sorrow about a past that no longer exists, and from anxiety and fear about a future that has not yet arrived. The present moment, the only reality we ever truly have, is almost entirely missed. The habit of mindful presence is the radical act of choosing to inhabit the now. It is the practice of anchoring our awareness in the raw, unfiltered reality of our immediate experience, the sensation of the breath flowing in and out, the feeling of our feet on the ground, the sound of birdsong outside the window, the arising and passing of a thought or emotion. Philosophical basis. This habit is the heart of the 7th factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. Samma Sati, right mindfulness. It is the primary tool for directly observing the 3 marks of existence: impermanence, anicca, unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, and non-self, anatta. It is only in the present moment that we can see for ourselves that all things are in flux, that clinging to them is stressful, and that there is no solid, unchanging I at the center of it all. Psychological benefits. The benefits of this habit are profound and well documented. It drastically reduces stress and anxiety by unhooking us from catastrophic thinking about the future. It enhances our focus and concentration. It enriches our experience of life, allowing us to fully taste our food, truly hear what our loved ones are saying, and appreciate the simple beauty of our surroundings. Crucially, it creates a sacred pause between a stimulus and our habitual reaction, giving us the freedom to choose a wiser, more compassionate response. Cultivating the habit. Formal practice, meditation. Dedicate 15 to 20 minutes each day to sitting meditation. The classic instruction is to rest your attention on the physical sensation of the breath. The mind will wander. That is its habit. The practice is not to force it to be still, but to gently, kindly, and non-judgmentally notice that it has wandered, and then guide it back to the breath. Each time you do this, you are strengthening the muscle of mindfulness. In formal practice, weaving it into life. The true goal is a mind that is mindful throughout the day. Mindful transitions. Use everyday cues as reminders. When you walk through a doorway, take a conscious breath. When the phone rings, let it ring 3 times before answering, using the pause to come back to the present. Single tasking. Resist the myth of multitasking. When you are eating, just eat. When you are listening, just listen. Give your full, undivided attention to one thing at a time. Body scan breaks. Several times a day. Take 30 seconds to scan your awareness through your body. Notice any areas of tension in your jaw, shoulders, or stomach, and consciously allow them to soften. Habit 2. The habit of ethical integrity, living with conscious harmlessness. The second habit is the conscious cultivation of ethical integrity, or sila. A mind cannot find true peace if its actions are creating harm and conflict in the world. Just as a surgeon needs sterile instruments to perform a successful operation, a meditator needs a clean conscience to achieve deep states of calm and clarity. Sila is the practice of sterilizing our conduct, ensuring our actions of body and speech are a source of well-being for ourselves and others. This is not about adhering to a rigid set of external commandments to please a deity. It is a pragmatic and psychological practice. When we lie, we create the mental burden of having to remember our lies. When we speak harshly, we create ripples of resentment that inevitably come back to us. When we take what is not ours, we live in fear of being discovered. These actions pollute the mind with agitation, remorse, and anxiety, making any attempt at finding inner peace impossible. Philosophical basis. Sila comprises 3 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. Samavaka, right speech. Samma Kamanta, right action. And Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. It is the essential foundation for the higher trainings in concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, prajna. Psychological benefits. The primary benefit of living ethically is a mind free from remorse, avapadasara. This inner sense of blamelessness and integrity is a profound source of joy and confidence. It creates a stable platform upon which the deeper states of meditation can be built. It simplifies our lives, fosters trust in our relationships, and creates a virtuous cycle. Wholesome actions lead to a peaceful mind. And a peaceful mind is more inclined toward wholesome actions. Cultivating the habit. Mindful speech. Before you speak, take a microsecond to ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is this the right time? This simple filter can prevent immense harm and regret. Contemplating actions. At the end of each day, take a few moments to review your actions, not as a harsh judge, but as a compassionate observer. Acknowledge the skillful actions with quiet appreciation. Acknowledge the unskillful actions without shame. And form the intention to do better tomorrow. The 5 precepts as a training. The 5 precepts are not commandments, but training principles for the lay practitioner. Regularly reflecting on them can guide our conduct. I undertake the training to refrain from killing. Cultivating reverence for life. I undertake the training to refrain from stealing. Cultivating generosity and honesty. I undertake the training to refrain from sexual misconduct. Cultivating respect for others and oneself. I undertake the training to refrain from false speech. Cultivating truthfulness and trust. I undertake the training to refrain from intoxicants that cloud the mind. Cultivating clarity and mindfulness. Habit 3. The habit of wise intention, aligning the mind with the path. Our actions do not arise in a vacuum. They are preceded by intention, satana. The Buddha famously said, "Intention, I tell you, is karma." It is the quality of our intention that determines the ethical and psychological quality of our actions. The third habit, therefore, is the conscious and repeated cultivation of wise intention. An untrained mind is habitually driven by unwise intentions, the intention of grasping at pleasure, the intention of pushing away pain, and the intention of causing harm, born of anger or jealousy. A Buddhist mind actively trains itself to replace these with their skillful opposites. Philosophical basis. This is Samma Sankappa, right intention or right resolve. The second factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. It bridges the gap between our understanding, right understanding, and our actions, right action, speech. The Buddha specified 3 types of wise intention. The intention of renunciation, nekkhamma. This is the intention to let go of clinging and craving. It is the resolve to find happiness not in acquisition, but in simplicity and non-attachment. The intention of goodwill, abhyupada. This is the intention to meet all beings with friendliness and kindness. To abandon ill will and aversion. The intention of harmlessness, avihimsa. This is the intention of compassion. The active wish that all beings be free from suffering. Psychological benefits. By consciously setting our intentions in the morning and throughout the day, we provide a rudder for our mind. Instead of being tossed about by habitual reactivity, we have a clear direction. This brings a sense of purpose and coherence to our lives. It actively starves the roots of anger and greed, and nourishes the seeds of kindness and contentment, creating a mental landscape that is fertile ground for peace. Cultivating the habit. Morning intention setting. Begin each day by taking a few quiet moments to consciously set your intention. You might say to yourself, "Today, may I act with kindness. Today, may I be patient. Today, may I practice letting go." Intention in action. Before beginning a task, whether it's a difficult conversation, an important project, or a simple chore, pause for a moment to clarify your intention. May I undertake this conversation with a wish for mutual understanding? May I do this work with diligence and focus? Recognizing and releasing. Use mindfulness to notice when unwise intentions, like the desire to lash out in anger, arise. Simply seeing the intention clearly, without judgment, often robs it of its power. You can then gently release it and replace it with a wiser one. Habit 4. The habit of letting go, practicing non-attachment. The 4th habit flows directly from the intention of renunciation. It is the active, daily practice of letting go. The Buddha identified our clinging, upadana, to things, people, ideas, and even our own sense of self as the primary fuel for our suffering, dukkha. We suffer because we are desperately trying to hold on to things that are, by their very nature, impermanent and uncontrollable. The habit of letting go is not about becoming apathetic or uncaring. It is about changing our relationship with our experiences. It is the wisdom to participate fully in life, to love deeply, and to strive diligently, but without the anxious, fearful grip of attachment. It is the difference between holding a butterfly in an open palm and crushing it in a clenched fist. Philosophical basis. This habit is the practical application of understanding the 3 marks of existence, especially anicca, impermanence. When we truly see that everything is in a state of flux, the foolishness of trying to hold on becomes self-evident. Letting go becomes the only sane and peaceful response to the nature of reality. Psychological benefits. The psychological benefit is freedom. Letting go of attachment to outcomes reduces anxiety and fear of failure. Letting go of attachment to possessions reduces materialism and envy. Letting go of attachment to people, in a possessive sense, allows for a healthier, more spacious, and more genuine love. Letting go of attachment to our opinions reduces defensiveness and increases our capacity to learn. Each act of letting go is an act of unburdening the mind. Cultivating the habit. Contemplating impermanence. Regularly and deliberately reflect on the changing nature of things. Look at your body, your relationships, your career, and the world, and remind yourself, this too is impermanent. This too shall pass. Practice generosity. Dana. The physical act of giving is a powerful training in letting go. Regularly give away possessions. Give your time, or offer a listening ear. Pay attention to the feeling of release that comes with giving. Dropping the storyline. When a painful emotion like anger or sadness arises, notice the story your mind is telling about it. He always does this to me. This is a disaster. Practice letting go of the story and just staying with the raw, physical sensation of the emotion in your body until it dissipates on its own. Forgiveness. Holding a grudge is a profound form of attachment to a past hurt. The practice of forgiveness is an act of letting go for your own sake, freeing your mind from the poison of resentment. Habit 5. The habit of compassionate engagement, cultivating an open heart. A Buddhist mind is not a cold, withdrawn, or dispassionate mind. It is a mind that is deeply and warmly engaged with the world. suffused with the qualities of kindness and empathy. The fifth habit is the active cultivation of compassionate engagement. This involves two key qualities: metta, loving kindness, and karuna, compassion. Metta is the unconditional wish for all beings, including oneself, to be happy and well. It is the antidote to anger and ill will. Karuna is the heart's trembling in the face of suffering, the sincere wish for all beings to be free from their pain. It is the antidote to cruelty and indifference. This habit involves intentionally directing these positive emotions outward, transforming our default self-centeredness into a radiant altruism. Philosophical basis. This is the cultivation of two of the four Brahma Viharas, divine abodes, which are considered the most sublime emotional states. A mind filled with metta and karuna cannot simultaneously be filled with their opposites. Thus, this practice is a direct method for displacing the mental states that destroy our peace. Psychological benefits. This habit is the ultimate cure for loneliness and alienation. It fosters a profound sense of interconnectedness with all of life. It dissolves anger, melts away resentment, and opens the heart to deeper and more authentic relationships. It is a source of immense inner strength and resilience, allowing us to face the world's suffering not with despair, but with a courageous and tender heart. Cultivating the habit. Formal metta meditation. Dedicate time to the formal practice of radiating loving kindness. Begin with yourself, repeating phrases like, "May I be happy. May I be well." Then, systematically extend these wishes to a loved one, a neutral person, a difficult person, and finally to all beings in all directions. Informal compassion practice. As you go about your day and encounter people, in person, on the news, silently offer them a wish. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. When you see someone struggling, pause to consciously feel compassion, rather than judgment or aversion. Compassionate listening. When someone is speaking to you about their difficulties, practice listening with your full attention, not to offer solutions, but simply to offer the gift of your caring presence. Habit 6. The habit of joyful diligence, applying wise effort. The Buddhist path is not a passive one. Peace does not arise from laziness or complacency. The sixth habit is the cultivation of joyful diligence, a quality known as virya. This is not the grim, stressful effort of the ambitious ego, but a bright, steady, and joyful energy applied to the path of cultivation. It is the happy persistence of a gardener tending their plants. This habit involves applying what the Buddha called the four right efforts. The effort to prevent unskillful states, like anger or greed, from arising. The effort to abandon unskillful states that have already arisen. The effort to cultivate skillful states, like kindness or mindfulness, that have not yet arisen. The effort to maintain and nurture skillful states that are already present. Philosophical basis. This habit combines samma vayama, right effort, the sixth factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, with the perfection, parami, of virya, energy, diligence. It recognizes that the mind has a certain momentum, and conscious, consistent effort is required to steer it from unwholesome channels to wholesome ones. Psychological benefits. Joyful diligence is the antidote to apathy, procrastination, and despair. It builds self-respect and a sense of empowerment. When we see that we have the agency to change our own minds, we are filled with a bright and optimistic energy. This steady application of effort prevents us from becoming stagnant in our practice and ensures that we continue to grow in wisdom and peace. Cultivating the habit. Small, consistent steps. Don't try to become a perfect meditator overnight. The key is consistency. A joyful 15 minutes of meditation every day is far more effective than a stressful 2-hour session once a month. Finding joy in the process. Learn to appreciate the effort itself. Feel the simple goodness in the act of being mindful, in the act of being kind, in the act of letting go, without being attached to the results. Guarding the sense doors. This is a classic practice of right effort. It means being mindful of what you consume with your eyes, ears, and mind. If you know that certain types of media or conversation tend to stir up anger or craving, make the wise effort to limit your exposure to them. Habit 7. The habit of equanimous balance, maintaining inner poise. The final habit is the culmination and protector of all the others. It is the cultivation of equanimous balance, or upekkha. Equanimity is the mind's ability to remain stable, spacious, and non-reactive in the face of life's inevitable ups and downs. What are known as the 8 worldly winds: pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disrepute. It is not a cold indifference or an emotional shutdown. The equanimous mind still feels everything fully. It feels the pleasure of praise and the sting of blame. The difference is that it does not cling to the one or react with aversion to the other. It maintains its center. It is the quality of a mighty, deep-rooted oak tree that can feel the wind in its leaves but is not uprooted by the storm. It is the profound peace that comes from a deep, wisdom-based acceptance of the impermanent, uncontrollable nature of life. Philosophical basis. Upekkha is the 4th of the Brahma Viharas and is considered the crowning glory of the emotional trainings. It is also the fruit of deep insight into the 3 marks of existence. When one truly sees impermanence and non-self, the reactive mechanism of the ego begins to quiet down, and equanimity arises naturally. Psychological benefits. Equanimity is the ultimate resilience. It is the end of being a puppet to our circumstances. Our inner well-being is no longer held hostage by external events. This brings a profound sense of freedom, fearlessness, and unshakable calm. It allows us to engage with the world's problems with a clear head and a steady heart, without being overwhelmed by despair or burnout. Cultivating the habit. Observing feelings, not becoming them. In meditation, practice observing feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, as they arise and pass away, without identifying with them. See them as weather patterns in the sky of your mind, not as you. Contemplating the nature of karma. Reflect that all beings are the owners of their own karma. You cannot control their actions or their destinies. You can offer them your compassion and your help, but you must let go of the ultimate outcome. It is like this: when faced with a difficult situation, instead of immediately resisting it, "This shouldn't be happening," practice whispering to yourself, "It is like this now." This simple phrase acknowledges reality without judgment and creates the mental space needed to respond wisely rather than react blindly. Conclusion. Weaving the habits into a way of being. These 7 habits: mindful presence, ethical integrity, wise intention, letting go, compassionate engagement, joyful diligence, and equanimous balance, are not separate, isolated practices. They are a cohesive, interconnected system. Ethical integrity provides the ground for mindfulness. Mindfulness reveals the need for letting go. Letting go opens the space for compassion. Compassion inspires a joyful diligence on the path. And all of these together culminate in the unshakable poise of equanimity. To cultivate a Buddhist mind is to commit to this holistic training. It is to understand that peace is not an accident, but a skill. It is the result of consciously and repeatedly choosing to replace our old, suffering-inducing habits with these new, liberating ones. This is the work of a lifetime, a gradual and beautiful process of becoming. It is the path walked by the Buddha, and it is the path that remains open to any one of us who wishes to find an end to turmoil and to discover the profound and lasting peace that lies at the very heart of our being.